I know my hair looks like crap. I don't care. I don't care. I was just thinking about something. I gotta finish this thought. But you know what? The thing is that, I said before I believe in God, and I'm not gonna go into some lengthy detail exactly what the heck, because it doesn't matter. That's not really important. What is important is this. I get to thinking about when people talk about God. And what occurs to me is that there are two ways in which you can look at God, but I'm going to look at it one particular way, in which God being a storyteller and you're just a character in that story. In a case like that, it makes me think about everyday life. And even when we're not even talking about God, people who kind of want to be slaves. And I'm just talking about people who just want to be slaves and kind of, like they just want to have somebody tell them what to do all the time. This is not an argument, by the way, about whether God exists or not exists. It's not even about theist versus atheist issues. It's just simply a fact of being independent and free. See, I believe in being an independent person. I believe in free will. Maybe free will really doesn't exist. Maybe scientifically someone will prove beyond any reasonable doubt that there is no such thing as free will. But until that day, this court has ruled that free will exists. So I'm going to live it accordingly until the higher courts overturn my decision. The lower court has decided. The thing is that I have free will, and I can choose to do what I want to do and live my life as I want to live. And there's nothing that stops me other than the natural consequences of things. So I always take that into consideration whenever I'm doing something. But if your life is determined by somebody else, and they determine where you go, what you do, how you dress, how you think, to me, I don't want to live like that, I mean, even if they were nice to me, even if they never beat me or, like all the things you think about slaves, in real life, like, being beaten and hurt, and even sometimes if you break a rule, they even mutilate you. Sometimes they cut off a finger or something to punish you. Let's say this God was always nice to you all the time. There still would be this thing where you want to be independent. You want to be free. You just have that feeling to be free. It's not even a matter of it would make you happy or anything. It's just something within your nature. Why would God create people with this urge for freedom and not let them be free? This is just thoughts I'm having about things. So my thinking is always that I have freedom. I can choose to do what I want to do. And I have to just simply think about the natural consequences of it. If I decide to eat a certain kind of food, what are the consequences of that? I could eat a lot of food with sugar in it. But, it's going to raise my blood sugar level right now. So I got to, compensate that with insulin. Because I'm diabetic. I have to deal with the realities of the limitations of my body. I have to deal with those consequences. There is that thing, But even when we're not talking about God, just people, like when I think about Jonestown, for example, Jim Jones, he told people what to do, how to live, everything. He controlled every aspect of people's lives. People wanted to leave. I was watching a documentary about a month ago. I rented this, and I recommend that people get it. It was on it's part of the series that they have on the public television channels called American Experience. And it's called like the Jim Jones tragedy or the Guyana tragedy or whatever. It's the documentary, not the movie. There is a movie, by the way, with this actor named Powers Booth. Remember that movie? The thing is that, here was a person who controlled everything in people's lives. They couldn't do what they really wanted to do. And there were people who wanted to leave. In that documentary, they were showing the footage of when Senator Leo Ryan, not senator, he was a congressman, a representative from California. He went to, or was he a senator? I'd have to look that up. But I know he was in Congress. He was a congressman. Anyway, the thing is, he went to Guyana to find out what was going on because there were some family members who were talking to him about that, about things that were going on. And, they were showing the documentary. You know, he asked people if they wanted to leave, and they were happy. They seemed to be happy. You know, they even showed the footage of the night before all that stuff happened, and people seemed to be tremendously happy. I think in that moment, in that day, when they were looking at that footage, nobody even thought that they were going to be dead the next morning. But you know, when he was getting ready to leave, when the congressman was getting ready to leave, you know, there were people who were coming up to him, sneaking him notes, you know, saying that they wanted to leave. And there were other people ratting people out from the Jim Jones group. Oh, so-and-so snuck a note over to him. You know, people couldn't, this guy had so much control. Because people gave control. They gave it over to him. That, you know, they couldn't do what they really wanted to do. They wanted to leave. They wanted to be with their families. They wanted to get out of that situation. And when Jim Jones found out, that's basically when all hell broke loose. That's when he decided that's it. And that's when, you know, the rest, as they say, is history. You know what happened after that. But it just makes me think that when people are so used to being controlled by other people, it gets to be a habit in thinking and stuff. And this is the issue, I think. You know, this is the only time I'm going to mention this thing about religion. I really don't want to get into religious arguments. But it's just, to me, what's more important than whether God exists or God doesn't exist, or sky daddies or whatever people want to say, it's a matter of having control of your own life. That's the thing that I always keep thinking about when I think about Jonestown. When that happened, I remember I was 18. Actually, I just turned 19. It was in 1978. It was November 18th. I remember that, too. And I just thought, how could people do that? You know, how could people just let somebody just tell them to do something like that, and they don't think, no, this is wrong? Because you get in that habit. I mean, in many situations, it doesn't have to be that tragic. It can just be with other things where you don't break free. You don't make your own decision. Make your own decision, even if you make mistakes in life. I think it's better to make your own choices, to be your own person, to be free, and yeah, face the criticisms. Because a lot of times in life, I get criticized for doing what I do, for thinking the way I think. But you know what? I'd rather face the criticism and be free and independent than to be a slave to somebody else's desires, because they're going to take you places, and it could be a disaster like that. You know, I don't want that to be the case. If something happens to me, it happens. But it's going to happen on my terms. I'm going to determine for myself the kind of life that I'm going to live. And if there is a God and he's out there somewhere, he'll understand that. And if he don't, then whatever. I'm screwed either way. Right? You know, seriously.